This is Austin Harman Mixes, and welcome to episode number 7 of the Austin Harman Mixes podcast. You're probably hearing some noise on this podcast right now. That is a gigantic airplane flying overhead because I am recording the podcast from a very different location this week. This week, I'm recording from the Penn Group's very first office/warehouse space. How incredible is that? And for the purposes of episode number 7, podcast number 7, we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a business owner and what an incredible achievement it is to be in this office space. So let's dial in, let's get into it, and thanks for listening. All right, episode number 7. Today we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a business owner and what a momentous kind of moment it is to be able to be here in my own space for this company and talk a little bit about our future plans. So if you've been following the podcast for a while, you know that I have announced on the channel, or on the podcast really, not the channel, that I am in the process of developing and building my own speaker company. And we are actually going to have to change the name of said speaker company. It was originally called Austin Harman Designs, and now it's going to be called Penn Audio. Super excited. Thank you for those of you who joined the Austin Harman Mixes live stream this past Sunday to help me pick out that name. So Penn Audio is going to be the new name for the speaker company. How exciting is that? Part of this kind of warehouse space, part of the purpose for this space is that we're going to be using this space to actually build and manufacture speakers, which is really cool. The process of actually building and manufacturing speakers is relatively complicated. We'll get into that in a later episode, but during that podcast, or during the live stream that happened on Sunday, I got a question on that, which was, what is the most difficult part of owning and running your business? And I thought about that and thought it would be an interesting topic to discuss. And what better place to discuss it than in the Penn Group's warehouse? So everybody's out of here. It's just me and the camera at this juncture so that we can have hopefully good sounding audio. I recognize there's a little bit of a reverb, but that's just the factor of being in a warehouse. So for now, you can just think that I'm in some kind of cavern. But let's talk about owning a business. You may or may not know this, but for Austin Harman Mixes, that's me. I've actually owned several businesses in my life. At a young age, I actually was interested in becoming an entrepreneur, although I didn't always aspire to be that. And even as early as 7th or 8th grade, I was making websites for money, for people, for business owners who needed them. And at the time, websites were somewhat expensive, and I was a young man, but I was able to create websites for paying customers. And that was kind of my first business venture. I'll never forget, whenever I was about 9th grade or so, I had finally earned enough money to actually buy a custom built computer. I was super excited about it, and I really wanted to build that computer so that I could play World of Warcraft, of all things. I don't play WoW anymore, but if you like World of Warcraft, leave me something down in the comments or send me an email, sales@thepenn.group. Now, fast forward into my college days. I did go to college. I went to Oklahoma State University in Oklahoma, and go Cowboys. Huge Oklahoma State football fan, by the way, so looking forward to the next Oklahoma State football season, where I'm sure we will be talking about the Cowboys on this podcast. But when I was in college, I actually started another company called Red Hair Computer Repair. Funny name, serious mission, that was our tagline. And Red Hair Computer Repair's purpose was simple. We were trying to help people fix their electronic devices. In some cases, they had a cracked screen. In some cases, they had a virus or whatever it was. Most commonly, we had students would put their books on the back of their MacBook LCD housing, and it would crack their LCD housing. And we had a repair shop, and we actually did device repair, and I did that all the way up until I moved to Ohio. And when I moved to Ohio in 2018, it wasn't long before I started my next business, which was called the Penn Group. And at the time, I, being a cybersecurity guy, wanted to make a company that did cybersecurity work. So I started the Penn Group to be a cybersecurity consulting company. And that cybersecurity consulting company made approximately $0. And it was very challenging to break into the cybersecurity space. And I quite honestly didn't have enough experience at the time to be very commercially successful as a cybersecurity consultant. But nonetheless, that was the original purpose for the company. And at some point in time, I was approached to start doing a video room install for a church here in Ohio. And I decided to do that install on the run up to getting married, actually. So for all of you who are in the engagement season, try adding a install that you're doing at night on top of that. Thank you very much to my lovely wife, who was my fiance at the time, for being patient and allowing me to do the work during that season. So fantastic timing. So I did my first install, and at that point in time, I kind of had realized that, hey, there was really something to this. I was also kind of venturing into the e-commerce space with selling electronics. If you watch some of the older videos on the channel, I was actually doing a electronics store, which I don't do anymore for various reasons that we'll discuss at some point in the future. But I really thought that there was something with this install business. And over the past number of years, I think we're going on 3 or 4 years at this point being in the install business, this has been the ultimate goal. I've been working nights, days, weekends. Every moment of my existence has thought about and led to this moment of being able to have a space like this. And you might ask, well, Austin, why didn't you get a space sooner? And the simple question, or the simple response to that question is, quite honestly, it's really hard to find commercial space that actually makes sense from a budget perspective, from a timing perspective, and it isn't just a huge risk to take on. So I tried my best to be disciplined and to be patient and get to the place where the business could actually sustain having a space like this. And coinciding with getting this space, we are actually taking a huge step from a business perspective and launching a national marketing campaign, which will put the Penn Group services in front of hundreds of thousands of our ideal customer, and with that marketing going national, all over the nation, I'm super excited about where we are going to be in the next 3 to 6 months and beyond. So very momentous moments here for the Penn Group and for the company. But running a company isn't always so sexy. It isn't always so easy as making $1,000 a day on Amazon drop shipping from Alibaba, which is the stuff that you see on these ads that keep running on all these videos. Running a business is really hard, and on the preceding years before this one, and I trust that this year will still face some trials of many kinds, but over the years I've been battle hardened by hardship, by long droughts of not being able to make any sales, by long droughts of experiencing challenge with every job that we did, and so on and so forth. And it was less about our effort to do things right, which we always want to do things right. It's just more about the nature of business is hard. It's very, very difficult, and that's why you do it, is because it's hard. I have been challenged as to why I wanted to become an entrepreneur over this time. You say, Austin, you like doing audio, this YouTube channel, this podcast is about doing audio. why are you talking about business on an audio focused podcast? And one of my primary desires for starting this podcast in the first place was actually to talk more about business and leadership topics, because I believe that those topics are important because they do have carryover in doing audio, but they also have carryover in many of the areas of our lives as well. So being a business owner is not always necessarily easy, but it also has its perks. Whenever you are a business owner, you get to set your own schedule. You get to more or less go on vacation whenever you want to, but those are also counterbalanced with, if you don't work, if you don't do the work of a business, then you don't make any money. And if you don't make any money, then you don't eat. So it's a very, I would say, challenging world, right? If you don't work at your regular job, your boss gets mad at you. If you don't work in business, you don't have any money. Now, that being said, at this juncture where I'm at and where my company is at, we're kind of at a transitional period, at a transitional moment. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to address this topic at this point. One, because I kind of wanted to etch this moment, so to speak, in stone. Whenever you have worked so long on something and have worked so hard for something, and to see it finally, after years of discipline and dedication, coming to fruition, it makes you take a step back and appreciate, first and foremost, what it took to get here. But it also makes you appreciate why you're here. And for me, the why is very simple. I believe that God has placed blessing upon my life, but also placed a tremendously high call to use these resources and to use this opportunity responsibly, to be able to do something and create something that will last beyond me. One of my primary goals with starting the Penn Group actually goes all the way back to one of my business heroes. And we got another airplane flying by. Hopefully that one's coming in from Vegas. If you know me well, you know that I love Vegas. If you don't know me, I do love Las Vegas. So if you're a church out there or event space, whatever in Las Vegas, I'd love to come visit you. I do enjoy my time in Vegas. Anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought with that airplane, but anyway, going back to the inspiration for starting the company in the first place, one of my great business heroes is Steve Jobs. And it seems a little bit cliche because at one point in time, everybody in my generation looked up to Steve Jobs. And now anymore, people are looking up to Sam Altman or Elon Musk. And none of these guys are moral compasses. None of these guys are people that you want to model your lives after. But Steve was different than everybody else because Steve's results spoke more of him than anything else that he did. This video is being recorded on an iPhone 14 Pro behind the tripod. And there are people that work for Steve and people who interacted with Steve on a daily basis who are responsible for this product that's recording this video. And if you go back a couple of years, one of the most successful consumer products of all time is the iPhone 6. That product has sold more than the consumer television, which I don't know if I actually believe that stat that I read, but that's crazy. And when you go back and you read about Steve was an extremely troubled person. Definitely not somebody that I would want to model my life after as far as his moral decision making and so on. And it seems like he finally got it together in his later years, but it's still kind of hard to put pieces together on that front. And I'm not here to, but one of Steve's kind of moments that impacted his life was when the computer company Hewlett Packard was started, and this is all recorded, by the way. It's the Steve Jobs biography, which was written by Walter Isaacson. If you'd like to read that, I will leave a link to that book down in the description of this podcast on YouTube. Or if you would like to see that and you're on the podcast network, just go to my YouTube channel, look up this podcast, and you'll see that link. Now, as the story goes, Steve was very impacted by the concept that Hewlett-Packard, which was started, I believe, in the 50s of some kind, don't fact check me on that, the company was originally started to make calculators. And eventually that company transitioned from making calculators to making computers, which are not so different technically, but the company made a full transition. And now Hewlett-Packard makes Windows computers and a bunch of other products, but they're still in the computer business. But most importantly, that company transitioned and they pivoted. They refused to die, they rode the wave. And I think that example of Hewlett-Packard had an impact on jobs because that company was able to last beyond its founders, and it was able to transcend generations. And I would like the same for the Penn Group. I would like the same for my speaker company. I want to build something that will last beyond me, that I'll be able to hand down to my children and my grandchildren as they come, and also to build up and enrich the lives of the people who A, work for this company, and B, interact with the company. And I feel a great responsibility based on my life circumstances, what I've experienced in my life, my natural gifts, my natural inclinations, to leverage all of those gifts, talents, and abilities and experience to actually leverage that into making something great. It's very hard to start a company. It's even harder to make something successful. A company successful, a program successful, it takes years of discipline and practice. And for me, being 5 years into this at this point, years and years and years of discipline, and finally being able to see the fruits of my labor come around, what a moment. Now, all that to say, I just want to thank all of you out there for listening to the podcast, engaging with the podcast. If there is something that you would like me to discuss on the podcast, I'd love for you to leave me a comment, because I'd be happy to do so. But, just this past Sunday when I was live streaming, it was amazing to see some of the impact of what these videos are having on the world. I interacted with one gentleman who lives in the UK, saw my videos on YouTube, started watching the church that I attend. Watches that church every week, and it's just incredible the reach that you can have with just a camera, with just a couple of lights, with the platform of YouTube and where your content can go. So I hope that as you listen to this podcast, you find it encouraging and inspiring for your own story. And if you do, I'd love for you to share that with me in the comments. But also, I hope that this is encouraging to you if you're considering starting a business or taking a leap of faith, that you would have confidence to do so, knowing that yes, it's going to be hard, but if you have a good mission, a good belief in yourself, and a holy God behind you, there's really nothing that you can't do. And I hope that my success here is an inspiration to you, and I hope that as we continue this journey of doing these podcasts every week, I record them on Tuesdays, they get released on Wednesdays. Last week I actually took a break because I have a lot of stuff going on here, so I took 1 week off, but back in the regular grind here. I hope this is encouraging to you. More fundamentals of audio videos coming out on the channel. If you'd like to keep up with that series, the next one will be coming out on Friday. And I look forward to continuing these conversations with you. God bless you guys. We'll talk next week.